Hi there, I'm Frank Buchholz. I work on the Surface Commercial Marketing team where I am the Technical Marketing Manager. My role on the team is to lead the community around IT Pro, as well as the developer community that you're part of. For that, we're super excited to be able to talk to you today about the Surface Book 3. This is a product that we announced about a week and a half ago, so it's fresh off the press. With that, we know that there's a lot of bloggers out there that have essentially taken the time to look at these devices and tell their excitement around it as well. Well, for us, we want to take it one step further. We want to unbox the box. And so we've worked with our commercial engineering team to actually debond a particular device for us. So not only can we walk you through the unboxing of this device, but we can also walk you through the breakdown of the device and show you why this is the best device for developers. And the reasons towards that are, hey, we are now packing in 32 gigs of memory on this device, a multi-terabyte hard drive, the latest 10th generation Intel processor for both i7 as well as i5. But the big one is we put a commercial GPU into it. So we're teamed with NVIDIA to build out the Quadro line and actually push this into the device with the RTX 3000 graphics processor. That RTX brings real-time ray tracing as well as AI into the box. We've seen a lot of bloggers out there actually talk about this device and their excitement around it as well. One of my favorite, and I actually saw reading the comments that were actually in there, somebody said, this isn't a tablet, this isn't a laptop, this is a supercomputer that you can carry with you. And we love that. I personally love that as somebody that used to work for a supercomputer company. But along that line, that might not be the marketing that we use in Microsoft, but we love that people are talking about this device that way. The power that it brings to you and the portability that it brings to you is something that a developer, we think this is a best class device for you. But we have a special guest we actually want you to talk to, or we want to interact with and have an exchange with. So let me go ahead back to my Surface Hub here and actually join the call and actually talk to them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit one touch to join, the promise of Teams, and be able to bring them straight into the meeting. So who I have joining me is actually Bob Petty. Bob is the Vice President and General Manager of NVIDIA for the Quadro line. So it's great to see you and welcome to Build, Bob.
Thanks, Frank. Always great to see you. Really happy to be a part of the Build conference. Really appreciative of the partnership that we've had with Microsoft to bring the Surface Book 3 to market.
Oh, this is terrific. What I'm super excited about is that Bob and I actually used to work together at Silicon Graphics as well as PerceptiPixel, and then Microsoft actually acquired PerceptiPixel to build this product that Bob is on right now, the Surface Hub. But in particular memory of working at Silicon Graphics and talking about Book 3, the very first job I ever got out of college after having a computer science degree was as a C programmer at the Naval Research Lab back in the early 90s, and I was working on an Indigo Silicon Graphics device, which at the time was probably the most powerful graphics workstation that was available. And now we've come full circle where I'm on the Microsoft team helping to work with Bob in order to put the Surface Book 3 with Quadro, the very powerful processor that it brings, and all the capability. So Bob, we're excited to be working with you again in order to bring products to market.
It was really nice listening to you take that stroll down memory lane. We've been so lucky to work on so many great technologies over the years, and we do have a great one here with the Surface Book 3 with Quadro RTX. It's going to unlock so many possibilities, a whole new world for all the amazing developers out there.
So Bob, why don't you tell us a little bit about why this particular machine with RTX 3000 is the right device for developers?
You bet, Frank. Quadro is the GPU of choice for developers. And one reason why is that our Quadro customers are the most demanding in the world across all industries. To us at NVIDIA, Quadro stands for solving the hardest problems for the brightest minds in society. Our customers are working in areas like AI, deep learning, engineering design and simulation, photorealistic rendering, and robotic automation. For each and every market that we serve, we focus on the customer and their workflows. And we work with ISVs and developers like you to help continually improve those workflows. And the nature of our customers' work is constantly evolving as market demands change and as customer expectations increase. They want more realism, more interactivity, virtual reality, augmented reality, all of these dramatically increasing the compute requirements. AI is becoming an important part of applications. At the same time, they want more collaboration, want to be more mobile so they can work from anywhere. To address the rise in mobility, we worked hard to pack more capability into thin and light notebooks. NVIDIA's Max-Q technology enables us to optimize performance at much lower power levels than ever before. That's how Microsoft and NVIDIA were able to pack a Quadro RTX 3000 GPU into the sleek Surface Book 3. It was great working with our friends at Microsoft, and we're thrilled to bring this amazing combination of technology to the world. The Quadro RTX 3000 has 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory, 1920 CUDA cores along with specialized RT cores that enable real-time ray tracing, and tensor cores for AI inferencing. These tensor cores can be used to automatically up-res textures, reduce noise in scenes, and automate many mundane designer tasks. Our users require and demand a smooth and familiar user experience, and in large enterprises, IT departments really appreciate the stability, reliability, and ease with which they can deploy and manage Quadro environments. We strive for a consistent experience, whether it's on a laptop, a desktop, or running virtual Quadro instances in the data center or in the cloud. Azure alone has thousands of virtual Quadro workstation instances. And you as developers can be sure that we're working hard to ensure the software you develop on the Surface Book 3 will run in all of those environments. Our Quadro users also expect and get world-class support. We test multiple versions of hundreds of apps with multiple versions of OSs on hundreds of devices, as every customer needs are different. Some customers need an app to live several years on the same version of the OS. We'll do the hard work to ensure the APIs, the SDKs, and the drivers are in sync with the OS and with all of the virtual instances in the data center and in the cloud. The Quadro RTX was the first GPU to combine compute and shader cores with dedicated RT cores and dedicated cores for AI. And developers all over the world have incorporated these new features into many of their applications. But it's not just about the hardware. We have more software developers in NVIDIA than we do hardware engineers. Most people don't believe that, but it's true, because software is the key to unlocking the capabilities. Without you, our developers, our GPUs would be nothing. And so the Quadro RTX platform provides software, APIs, SDKs that are capable of accelerating and enhancing graphics applications, imaging, and video processing applications. For ray tracing, we support optics, Microsoft DXR, Vulkan RT. We provide AI features via our NGX service and embedded features in our driver. For physically accurate simulation, we have CUDA, Flex, and Physics. And for workflows that require multiple apps, which they often do, we help with asset interchange with supporting things like USD and our own MDL. And so, like our friends at Microsoft, our philosophy centers around empowering a strong developer ecosystem. We have an incredibly strong network of over 1.8 million developers and more than 1,600 GPU accelerated apps. As mentioned, we provide comprehensive frameworks for developers, toolkits, and resources with world-class support. So please visit developer.nvidia.com to see everything that's available to you. Much of it's open source, as we believe every developer who has an idea should have access to the tools they need to make their ideas a reality.
Thanks for taking the time to share that amazing content with us. One thing that really struck me when you were talking about virtual GPUs was that within the Book 3, we're actually combining at a physical layer both the Quadro processor as well as everything that Surface brings to market. But what we also have as a comparison is at the Azure level, we know that you within NVIDIA are teaming with us in order to build both Quadro and GeForce level computational resources. The real power there is that on products such as the Go2 that just came out, you can now take a low cost form factor and bring this product high-end data visualization straight down onto a product like that, no matter where it is. So developers could essentially create for that device in any space it is, whether that's on an oil rig, whether that's in a retail space, all these different ideas of how we use data visualization. It kind of reminds me of when we were at Silicon Graphics and one of the actual focuses that you had towards products that we were building.
It's been a dream for 30 years. It's all about getting to the right content, the right insight, no matter where you are. It's anytime, anywhere, any device. And the Go2 device is going to be a great platform for getting virtual Quadro.
I couldn't agree more, Bob. Thanks so much for joining us. And let's get going to do a deep dive into the Book 3. So this is the fun part for me. I'll admit that I've always dreamed of being a YouTube star. Actually, no, I haven't. But here I'm going to go ahead and do an unboxing of the Book 3. And so let's just go ahead and get to it. We actually have a device that was shipped to us straight from our factory in China, and we're able to actually unbox it right here. So let's go ahead and start. Take the shrink wrap off of it, throw it off to the side like YouTubers do. We can take the box here. They just magically, somebody else, I guess, picks up all this stuff. Cool box. I think I like how it feels actually for you, but we can just throw that off to the side as well. And then we'll take the device straight out of here. A couple things that are actually in the box is the new 127 watt power supply. There's been actually a lot of talk about this power supply because it can power the device and charge the device while it's actually being used at its highest graphics capability. I always like to take these little connector pieces off, and here's our 127 watt power supply. Certainly a moose in order to power all the capabilities inside of our Book 3. And we'll go ahead and plug in the cable so that we actually have connectivity, and we'll set it off to the side here. And then we'll also look at this a little bit of information booklet. We'll just throw that off to the side and that off to the side as well, and then be able to get rid of this box and be able to get rid of this box as well. And so what we have now at this point is actually our beautiful Book 3. I am not going to throw this off the desk. I'm actually going to gently open it up and look at this beautiful form, fit, and finish on the device, and all the care and quality that went into building this device in a third generation, and be able to take this and throw it off to the side as well. So there it is. There is our brand new, fresh out of the wrapper, Book 3. Well, I hope you enjoyed my version of my unboxing. I've seen many on YouTube, and I think Justine and a couple of Marcus Brownlee and others have done an amazing job. I'm not sure I'm ready to be a YouTuber just yet, but that was kind of fun to be able to rip it apart. And that experience that you get the very first time you open a box and peel that shrink wrap off, it's like Christmas. So it's really cool to be able to experience that and have this device sitting in front of me at this point. Now, what I love about the Surface Book 3 is being able to just open it up from its clamshell here and be able to actually just turn the device on for the very first time. So it boots up to its Windows logo and starts to kick in. You'll notice that the boot process shouldn't take too long. We've actually already pre-configured this device and run it through autopilot once before, and it actually says it's looking for me. So I'm going to grab the device and actually use Windows Hello in order to log into the device. And look at that, Windows Hello logs me right into my account, and it already loads it straight up onto the device. What I also like is that we're using these cool kind of desert backgrounds on there that we actually started using in October back on the launch of the Laptop 3 and the Pro 7. And now the Book 3 has its own background as well that you can download straight off the internet. Let's talk about the device itself. The Book 3 is a unique device. It's unique in that it has a graphics processor in it that's separated from the actual Intel processor. It's a discrete GPU. We do sell one version of it though. Of the 4 versions that we have, one of the versions uses an integrated GPU, meaning that we just use the GPU that's in the Intel processor itself. But we have 3 discrete GPUs from NVIDIA. 2 are part of the GeForce GTX line. It's the 1650 and the 1660 Ti. But the big one that I think most people in the developer community would be the most interested in would be the Quadro line. Bob just talked about that for quite a while of saying, hey, what is the value and what are that ray tracing and AI and all the other capabilities that the RTX class of processors within NVIDIA brings to you? And we push that into this device, Quadro RTX 3000. On the other piece though is, hey, this is a powerhouse. This is using the latest 10th generation Intel processors, Core i7 and Core i5 available on this device. The other great part about it, as we talked about, is you have the options for additional memory. Never before have we actually offered 32 gigabytes of onboard memory on this device. That's a lot of storage space to run your code, test things in different virtual environments, and bring it all to life. The other thing that I really like is more storage space. 2 terabytes of storage space that you can actually pack into this device, plus being able to bring in, I think one of the coolest things is 17 hours of battery life. The way it works is we have a battery in the top portion in the tablet, as well as a battery that's actually in the base of the device. So combine those two batteries together, 17 and a half hours of battery life. That's really much more than all-day battery life. That's multi-day battery life in the way that you could actually use the device. The device also 10-point pen and touch. That's ubiquitous, right? That's something that is built into every Surface product. The idea that we can walk up to the device, put 10 points of touch on the device, and add the ability to have modality, what we would call it. Modality to work the way you want to work and where you want to work to do that. The other cool things about this device, just to point out, is that in the front, we have a 5-megapixel HD camera on the device in order for you to use it. The camera is flanked by 2 studio microphones. These studio microphones actually do a beam shaping algorithm. They triangulate on you as the active speaker, and they echo cancel out all the other ambient noises that are available in the space. So it just finds you as the speaker, so it gives a great Teams experience. Or if you're using other products like Zoom and WebEx, it uses great audio in order to provide those as well. The other pieces that we put in is the speakers built straight into the glass. You'll actually see small cutouts in the glass where the sound actually comes out at you and comes straight forward towards you. That's a consistent thing we do in Surface. We actually do that on the Surface Hub behind me as well, where we actually put a cutout straight into the glass where the treble and the mid-range comes out towards you. The interesting thing about Surface Hub is it has a big bass in the back that we call the bump, but the bass actually reverberates out of the device on this device as well. So it's a beautiful sound. We actually use Dolby Atmos in order to provide a clarity and a symphonic type of sound that comes out of it. Now, what's really special most about this device is the idea that it can actually unlock itself and become a tablet. So I'm going to wake it up one more time, and I'm going to press the unlock button on it. You'll hear a little distinctive click. That is actually 2 times faster than it was on the previous book device. And so now I have this tablet portion. And what's interesting is this is where the CPU is. This is where the memory is. This is where the hard drive is. This is also where the integrated GPU is actually in the screen itself. The discrete GPU and the battery are all in the actual base of the device, but the real memory and the power of the device outside of the graphics processor is in this screen itself. Now, if I was to grab something like a pen and I actually clicked on the pen, the device will automatically open the whiteboard, and it even support rotation. So I could come in here, open a new whiteboard, and even write something like hello into the screen and be able to have it. So just being able to have that ease of flow and ease of being able to use pen and touch and that modality of being able to get work done when I want, love this device, and I think you will as well. Now for the fun part. We actually get to tear this device apart. But before we do that, my care and the warranty team and lawyers and everybody else has wanted me to warn you, do not do what I'm about to do, because once you take this device apart to the level I'm going to take it apart, you will never have a functioning device ever again. In fact, full disclosure, we've actually worked with our engineering team to debond this device, meaning that it's not glued together anymore, it's not screwed together anymore, but we want to be able to take it apart. And the reason that we want to show you that is because of the craftsmanship that we put as much on the inside of the device as we do on the outside of the device. In that particular case, we know that our engineers put great care into how the heat flows across the device, how the components fit together, how all the integrated pieces actually work together as one. So don't do this, but know it's going to be fun for me to actually take it apart, and hopefully you get enjoyment out of watching me do it. So let's go ahead and start. All right, so after we're done taking it apart, now we're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into a couple of these different components. Of course, you probably think first thing you saw me take apart was this wafer thin piece of glass at 3240 by 2160. This is the resolution on the 15-inch device, where the resolution on the 13-inch device is 3000 by 2000, or the classic 3:2 aspect ratio that everybody loves about Microsoft Surface devices, and we're consistent with that. The other piece to show is actually on the actual piece of glass or the actual tablet portion are a couple things. Battery life. Actually, what you see here is you see 2 batteries on the device. These add about 5 hours of battery life. And then when you combine it with the 12 hours of battery life on the base, that gives you your 17.5 hours of battery life. So nice to be able to have that combined capability across the 2 components of the device. The most interesting thing that people, I think, love most about this device from an engineering standpoint is this muscle wire hinge capability. You can actually see me actually pulling on this wire. Probably not something you'd ever do yourself, but mechanically it happens through a mechanism that electronically pushes it back and forth. But this allows me to actually detach this electronically through a signal that's sent through to the board to actually detract or extract it from the tablet from the base. The other pieces to actually talk about would be more on some of the other components of the device itself. So let's go ahead and jump over and look at the compute piece. So the compute piece that I actually took from the main module of the device is built into there. You'll see that a couple things on the front side of the device are our 2 front-forward camera, which is our 5 megapixel camera, which is also an HD camera, and then an IR sensor that provides you your Windows Hello login capability. But if I was to flip this over, what you see on the other side is some things that are still somewhat hidden to us. Is there's a processor underneath this heat shield when these fans actually help to detract the heat away from the processor. So a lot of design goes into that particular piece. Also built into this particular area is the TPM chip. The TPM chip gives us the capability to encrypt all of our data, capsulize it behind the TPM chip, so we encrypt data and are able to store it, like your password or other certificates off the device that maybe we get from Azure Active Directory that provides for easy login over Windows Hello for Business. So all of those pieces are built into this area as well. The other piece to show you actually is where the actual processor is off of the NVIDIA portion. And so if we look at our board here that we actually took from the base, you'll see that we are pointing to right here this huge heat component where it actually extracts heat off of the processor and is able to flow that out the venting on the device. But underneath here is our Quadro processor that we team with NVIDIA in order to provide. Finally, the last couple things that are on this device are the ability to have things like Wi-Fi connectivity and other pieces, but also the ports that are on the device. So for instance, this component that I took off here, the USB-A ports, which are USB-A 3.1 Gen 2, as well as right next to it, the SD-XC card. I really like that part because this is a device that's built for graphics processing. So even the filming that we're doing right now, we can grab the SD card out of our video cameras, stick it into the side of this device, and be able to do all of our processing of this actual video that we're having right as we speak. In fact, one of my favorite quotes or pieces on the sizzle reel that actually filmed was at the end of the sizzle reel. It actually says, rendered on book 3. So that's an awesome thing to say about this Quadro processor and the capabilities it brings. Finally, off to the side here, we also have a USB-C 3.1 Gen 2, as well as finally the Connect port. Surface is in love with this Connect port, as am I. This Connect port essentially carries everything. It carries data, it carries audio, it carries power. I can actually grab this Surface power cord, and this is now our new 127 watt power connector, and that will power this device to full power even when you're doing the most graphic intensive work. So I can just put it right in there magnetically and have that power that. But the other thing that comes out of here is a DisplayPort 1.4. DisplayPort 1.4 would actually allow me to hook in a Surface dock to this and power 2 4K monitors at 60 Hertz. So let's go ahead and show you that next. So our last piece here is to actually show you the connection using the new Surface Dock 2. This Dock 2's got some special capabilities that we'll just talk about in a second. But one thing I want to demonstrate is to be able to take my Surface Book 3 here, actually slot it down between these 2 beautiful displays, and now take the Surface Dock connector, and actually with one connection I light up USB for keyboard and mouse, as well as DisplayPort 1.4 across the device to give you that high-end dual 4K 60 Hertz display. So with one single connection, I'm able to bring that to life. So now we have the device all hooked up and it's now your personalized docking station to bring all of this together for that place where you're in your home office or you're in your office and able to get all the coding done that you were able to do for mobility wise on the Book 3. All that power of the Quadro processor is still there, and now you're able to get it all done in this awesome looking workstation that we have in front of us. One last piece I want to touch on is manageability. Recently, Surface at Microsoft Ignite last October announced that we on Surface create our own UEFI. I like to think of Surface as having two different operating systems on it. It has the Windows 10 operating system that you can manage fully, but it also has a UEFI on the device, a BIOS. That is a BIOS that actually is created by Surface, or by Windows in this particular case, and runs on the Surface device. But at Ignite, we actually announced the ability to manage that firmware, that UEFI, on the Surface device. So I want to go ahead and show you that through Microsoft Endpoint Manager and be able to give you a quick demonstration. So let's jump into this awesome looking workstation and be able to bring that characteristic to life to show that management. So here we are within Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and I want to give you a demonstration of how we're able to create a profile that we apply to an Azure AD security group that we deploy onto a set of devices. In this case, the Surface Book 3. We can actually do this deployment of this profile at the time of when we deploy Autopilot, meaning that when the device is going through its very first setup, we're able to actually push this policy onto the device so that only the tenant that owns the device has the ability to manage the device. So within here, I am in Endpoint Manager. The first thing I do is create the profile. I give it a name. Then I go ahead and check the platform, which in this case is Windows 10, and I choose a profile type of Device Firmware Configuration Interface. Now I have the ability to choose anything that I want to actually configure and manage at a UEFI level. So I could disable the camera. I could also disable being able to boot from USB. There's certain capabilities to be able to do that. If you can disable the camera at the UEFI level before the device even boots, that means that when you go into Device Manager, you won't even see a camera within Windows 10. So there's a strong capability in order to do that by going in and actually disabling that camera. The other piece would be is if you could disable the ability to boot from USB, that means that the device is now locked to the tenant that is managing the device, meaning that if the device was ever lost or stolen, the only people that could ever re-image the device would be the company or the tenant that is now managing the device. Very powerful capability to manage the device at the UEFI level, and it's all brought to you through Microsoft Surface. I want to thank Bob again for joining me and everyone for watching our session. We really appreciate you being here. And if you get a chance, we strongly encourage you to check out the sessions at Build showcasing Surface, including Scott Henselman's developer keynote, as well as Craig Dunn's session on building Android apps for dual screen. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.